Today we will be talking about fatigue and suspension systems in cargo vehicles. First of all, here is a leaf spring, which is most commonly used in cargo vehicles. Here we can see what happens to leaf springs when they are put under large amounts of stress over long periods of time. But how does this happen? First of all, leaf springs need to be rigid so that they can support the vehicle and its cargo. But they also need to be flexible to absorb vibrations and any other impacts that rough roads may cause to protect the cargo. So obviously, potholes and other defects over time will wear out the suspension. But one thing most probably don't think about is loading and unloading cargo. This may not happen as often, but the change in pressure on the leaf springs is much larger. So let's demonstrate this with a paperclip. Think of the space between the two ends as the amount of pressure being put on the leaf spring. You should notice that if we change the amount of pressure in very small amounts at a time, it takes a while for the paperclip to snap. This represents small changes in pressure due to bumps or divots in the road, which are pretty frequent. Now if we change the pressure by large amounts like during the loading and unloading process, the paperclip snaps much quicker. But this doesn't happen nearly as frequently as bumps or divots in the road. This is what your basic leaf spring bracket should look like. And here you can see the bolt that connects the two. Here is a pretty extreme case of what can happen to a leaf spring bracket. But once again, how does this happen? Obviously, you have seen that fatigue takes place in the leaf springs, but it has been found that fatigue takes place in the brackets that connect the leaf springs to the rest of the vehicle. And the fatigue occurs more quickly than in the springs. Brackets are much different than springs. Besides the rubber bushing that often goes around the bolt that connects the bracket to the leaf spring, it needs to be very rigid. To demonstrate how the fatigue occurs, I will be using binder paper. The rings will represent the bolt going through the holes in the paper or bracket. If you have had a binder, you know that throughout the school year, the area around the holes will bend, crease, and tear, or form cracks, if you will. This shows that you don't need a heavy force to rip through these holes or brackets. Of course, a large force will accelerate the fatigue, but small lateral movements or vibrations over time will do the trick. The concept behind fixing this is relatively simple, and many of us, including myself, have already done this in the past. We simply just make it stronger, either by adding thickness to the bracket, which I show here by using 2 pieces of binder paper, or create a new, stronger alloy, sort of how some binder paper has plastic reinforcement.